I didn't know that.
All right, let's go.
Sergey, can you hear?
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, please
Hello.
go ahead.
Just a moment, I will check the record. Yes, it's recorded. So, hello everyone. We're really glad to see you on this What's Leadership Done Right panel discussion. And first, I would like to introduce you the Access Helsinki, which is international entrepreneurship society. We are basically based in Haaga-Helia University, and we are a diverse group of entrepreneurially minded people. So to be the part of the XS community, it's not necessary to be like entrepreneur at all. Only thing you need to have is like idea or you want to grow, let's say. So we are a non-profit entrepreneurial community founded in 2018. Our purpose is to inspire people about entrepreneurship and provide a platform for the networking, for the growing and expand their professional network. Currently, we have 284 members, and also we are part of the 3 AMK Entrepreneurship Society Alliance together with the Laureas and Metas. And the initiative aims is to increase entrepreneurial awareness and contributes the strengthening the business knowledge base in the capital region of Finland. We are also supported by Helsinki, Espoo, Vantaa, Haaga-Helia, Laura, Metropole, and Startup School Haaga-Helia. So we are doing events kind of testing Tuesdays. This is free weekly event which changing topics led by professionals and aspirational entrepreneurs, visionaries, and the community members. So we always try to find the best speakers. And also, please welcome to join us for free because you can get invitation to members only events, community hangouts, access to the official Access mentor pool, access to support network and contacts, voting right on association meetings, and right to run for a board member positions. Also, you can get access to Helsinki startup scene and chance to host your own workshops. Also, community members, perks and benefit, a supportive community and new friends. So you can join us the accesshelsinki.com/membership. Now we are developing and helping to grow our own app. So basically our main idea to build the community where people can grow together and help each other. And now I would like to introduce you our mentors and people who will host also this event. This is Priyanka Banerjee, right? All right. And
it's Banerjee, but yeah, in Finnish it's Banerjee.
Okay, so, sorry. So she's CEO and co-founder of BusinessWise. Priyanka helps companies become more diverse and inclusive. She works with the different aspects of international business. Example, cross-cultural sales, managing diverse teams, enhancing the performance of diverse team, and building the inclusive organizational culture, etc. She also the international working woman of the Finland RUS secretary of the board and serves as European Digital Society City Ambassador of Helsinki. So please welcome. And also we have the Lauren Notin, who is the business coach and trainer with over 18 years experience running with the SMEs and in multicultural environments in Southeast Asia before launching his own business in October 2017. And Lauren helps small and medium entrepreneurs scale up through the coaching and mentoring and training. He is also the host of the podcast interviews, which aims at cracking an entrepreneurship code. So Lauren is also a mentor of the Access. So please welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Sergey.
Yes, and now it's your turn, guys. And this is the last slide from me, so then you can change it to your own.
All right, thank you, Sergey, and thank you all for joining. We have like nearly 40 participants. This is really good. As you have guessed, and as Sergey said, my name is Laurent, and together with Priyanka today we will be moderating this event and ask tough questions to our speakers. Priyanka and myself, we co-chair the Leadership and Strategy Special Interest Group under the umbrella of Access Helsinki. So as its name suggests, the group focuses on leadership and strategy with the purpose of promoting leadership done right, which is the topic of the discussion today, and also encouraging business leaders, or future business leaders like yourself, to elevate themselves and think more strategically instead of driving blindfolded. This is the group's launching event of what will be, we hope, a series of more events within the next year around the theme of leadership and strategy. So please make sure that you follow Access Helsinki on social media to stay up to date with our events. Now, going to today's discussion, leadership is a trendy word. We've been hearing a lot that leadership needs to be revisited. We also see all these famous and rich so-called leaders in the news. But what is leadership really about? And how to do it right? These are a couple of questions that we'll ask our guests today. We're going to spend the next hour together. So please make sure that your mics and videos are turned off so we can focus on our speakers. However, do not hesitate to ask questions to our panelists using the chat box anytime during the event. Priyanka and myself will be monitoring the flow of questions. So let me now virtually turn to Priyanka so she can introduce our speakers and ask them the first question.
Thank you so much, Lauren. That was really good. And that's what we are trying to do here today in the launch event about leadership. And we have a really diverse panel today to talk about leadership. We have with us Caroline Bondier. She's a process development director from Kone. Hi, Carol. Then we have with us Anupam Chakraborty. He is the Senior Vice President of Lindstrom Group. And we also have with us Jan Ameri. He is the CEO of ArcticStartup and Arctic 15. So hello and welcome all of you. Thank you for being here and for giving your time and energy.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So going forward, because we have a lot of questions, we have also some questions coming from audience to us already in advance. I will directly deep dive into immediately, and we have first 5 minutes for each speakers to tell more about themselves and what do they think about leadership done right. Is there a leadership done right? Or what do they understand by this topic? So first of all, I'm gonna hand over the mic to Caroline to start this presentation, and we'll go forward with to the other speakers then. So
Thanks.
I will put myself on mute and over to you, Caroline.
I'll share the screen if that's all right.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yes. I don't have a fancy corporate presentations, don't worry you all. I just wanted to have a couple of like funny slides in that way to support me with the speech, which may be a bit unconventional, I'm warning you, but just let me know if you can see this like leadership slide.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So the question is, what does leadership done right mean to me? Well, actually, it means a great deal of things. Let's start with the word leadership. So leadership to me means everything and anything. If you check any given article or book about leadership, you'll find at the very least like 20 or more attributes that define a good leader. And I think Laurent said it nicely in the introduction, like what does define a leader today? And if you're looking a bit in the sort of like traditional way of thinking, as a good leader, you need to define or at least understand your company's strategy. You need to build a vision for your team. You need to be dedicated, committed, loving, caring, inspiring, motivating, honest, humble, and of course, confident. And then again, probably another 10 flattering adjectives. So you also need to build the best possible team, be of course fully dedicated to your management and executive teams. Let's not forget your investors, your customers, your team members, your peers, and your vendors. On top of that, you should not also forget that, as Laurent said, many inspiring leaders are out there. You're supposed to be an inspiration to your community or your industry. But this world is actually very driven, in my view at least, by financial result and business success. So on top of all of these, you also need to master your sort of expert or manager or director or CEO position, because let's face it, very few people are just leaders, right? I mean, it's not like you are going to be a full-time leader. It's not a job or a role description in that sense. It's more of a way of life or a belief system. So in that sense, I have a very simple message to you today. Do not worry, I have a very simple solution for you to fit all these wonderful descriptions. It's very easy to become a leader. Your only option is to become Batman. Or in my case, I have to become Batgirl, right? And whatever other character you feel from the DC comics is also, you know, working out in these scenarios. And if we have the Marvels fan out there, I'm terribly sorry, but I'm gonna stick with the DC comics for today, right? So lesson number one, to be a good leader is very simple. All you need to do is become a superhero. So once you've become the said extra human being, you also are going to have to think that you have to do it right. Yes, because if Batman is starting to, you know, beat up on the good guys, that's not going to be working out. So you've got to think that not only I need to be a superhero, but I need to do things right if I want to be a good leader. And the problem is, in my experience as a leader, is that there is always going to be a reaction to the exact same action, behavior, or presentation that you do, or the exact sentence that you say, that will be totally differently received, depending if you're with person A, let's say Robin in this case, or if you are with person B, the Joker. But at the end of the day, I'm still, you know, the good old Batgirl. So why, or he is in this case, the good old Batman. So why is this happening? Well, because Robin and Joker in this example, they have a different vision. They have a different mission. They have a different belief system. And one of them will see Batman as a true inspiration and a leader, whilst the other one probably as the worst thing to ever plague the face of the earth. At this point, you must be thinking I'm a little bit crazy, which, to be fair, it's okay, because I'm not going exactly with the traditional, let's say, leadership definition. But why I'm saying this to you is simply because, in my humble view, we can never be done with our leadership journey. We're always going to get a fair share of like bumps and bruises along the way. And it's also very likely that we are never going to please everyone. And again, guess what? That's okay. But that being said, I'm very excited to be with you today. I'm sure my fellow panelists are also very excited to be here. And the best I can do is to share my experiences and my learnings with you. And I hope you guys will enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It was indeed a very interesting presentation, and I choose to be Wonder Woman. Can I have
Okay,
that, please?
that's all right. She's still in the DC universe, so you can go for it.
Okay, Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
guys.
and you were perfectly on time, so that's really really great. Uh, can we have Anupam now to tell us something about yourself and also what leadership done right means to you? Over to you, Anupam.
Thanks, Caroline. I'm still trying to figure out what I should be. Uh, and setting the benchmark, I think, quite high in terms of what's the expectation from fellow colleagues. Uh, I don't have any presentation slides, but maybe what I could do is share some experiences that I have had about leadership, and I think that's something that guys at XES can benefit from. A very interesting story, maybe to start with. A couple of years back, I think it was 5 years back, at Lindstrom, we organized one session where, or a couple of days actually, the top management of Lindstrom had a millennial board come up. So there was a millennial board in Finland that we started sparring with to exchange ideas. It was a 3-day session, very interesting discussions. We were all 45 plus on one side, and you had the millennials on the other side, and we were discussing ideas. Something very interesting came up in the discussions when discussing. None of them wanted to join Lindstrom, and it was fair. We understand we're not very flashy. We asked them what was the reasoning. They did a lot of research before participating, and what really hit me in their disclosure on why they were not interested, as per them, we were too perfect. They said, you go to your website, it looks, everything is picture perfect. We see your posts on social media by colleagues or from Lindstrom, they're perfect, and somehow that scares us. That is this fake, or can we trust something which is picture perfect? And as millennials, we like to see real things. We love authenticity. We like to see vulnerability in the faces of leaders. So we don't expect everyone to be picture perfect and so on. Of course, it's quite different to what Caroline mentioned in terms of being the Batman and so on, where you would expect people to be quite strong. But I think these guys opened a new dimension for us, that they expect leaders to be very authentic in their approach. They expect us to be more open, more human in terms of making mistakes and making it visible for them so that they feel comfortable. And of course, we've tried to adapt that in our practices over the last couple of years. I think it was very beautiful mirror that we were shown, that guys, stop trying to perfect leadership. We don't want the perfect guys. I think that was a great insight for me. Of course, like Caroline mentioned, leadership is a huge subject, and we can keep on adding adjectives to it, and it doesn't end. But I think that was one good experience that definitely for us to share, that we really don't need to fake it in terms of leadership. Let's be authentic the way we are and still try and get the best out of people. Additionally, I think what I have seen from experience, the best leaders are people who are able to tell great stories. They are not really the ones who are creating PowerPoint presentations. And all apologies, Caroline, your presentation was great, but somehow the people are able to make very good connect with stories, with experiences that they have had on the field, and they're open to sharing those experiences. Because when talking to individuals or when talking to people, if you're able to share your stories, very often people remember the stories. All the leaders that I remember that I have been influenced by, they have been extremely good at storytelling. They have been extremely good at sharing examples in the form of stories. And I might forget the episode where that happened, but I definitely remember the stories. I don't remember who shared that story many times, but I do remember the story. And then you're able to connect it in your day-to-day work. So I think in addition to all the adjectives and so on, my two takeaways are: be authentic and be very good storytellers. be able to share your vision through stories, be able to share your beliefs through stories and experiences, be able to share what you have learned and what you're expecting through stories. It's not something that comes easily to people. It's not the easiest art form to master, but then I think it helps you build a very good connect with people when you're able to share your experiences through stories and expectations through stories. So maybe those are, two topics that I would, in addition to all the adjectives around leadership, maybe focus on a little bit more. That how do I be very vulnerable and authentic and be the real human being that I am, and of course at the same time be able to share experiences through stories.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that and for sharing the story. It was, once again, like you said, it makes it so much more relatable what you're trying to explain. So thank you for that. And now we can move on to Jan. And Jan, tell us something about what you feel leadership done right means to you. And over to you.
Okay, thank you, Priyanka and Lorraine, for the invitation. Happy to be here, and I could say I'm a quite fresh as just 1 year coming up as a CEO, so very young as a company leader. But I've been kind of like a leading role in the ecosystem and beyond on my past life a lot. But as a CEO, very freshly, and then I've been like thinking, looking from being a kind of like a business person and having co-founders and business partners, and how do we lead together. But from my I try to squeeze in what's the leadership done right for me. And the number one what comes to me, that you have to be present, to be available for your team. You need to be there for the support, because that should be the kind of like the key thing of the leader. Even I must admit that myself, I also kind of like lead by example, quite a lot, showing my commitment towards the company, to the team, and I'm executing there together with the team. Nobody technically can work harder on the company than me. So that I put some kind of, I don't expect anybody else to do that in my company, but I'm just showing that my commitment. And then obviously it's the job of having the vision, and like that was already referred, and of course clearly communicating that to the team always. And one more thing, of course, is like when you have to make decisions, sometimes tough decisions, you need to be able to explain the reasons behind these decisions, because there's going to be objections, or some people don't like the reasoning or the decisions, but you have to be kind of like able to explain and try to find some kind of a piece on those. And maybe even more, these are difficult to choose. All are important things for me, at least. And I would say the priority when I even start with somebody, is it a volunteer, intern, job applicant, then I want to get to know the people as quickly as possible, about like knowing about their dreams, their goals, and then the key thing is how can I help them achieving. And like I often say, that it's your part is going like this, maybe my part or my company part is going like this. So there's like this alignment of our parts, for is it for 1 month or 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, we don't know it, but like how do I help you towards getting your dreams and your goals as a leader, because I'm supposed to obviously provide you with a salary and all the this kind of support beyond that. So I want to keep it short so we can get straight to the other question, but this would be like, be present, be there to support, like I answer very as quickly as I possible, show the commitment, have the vision communicated, explaining the reasons behind the tough decisions, and get to know the people and their dreams.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Thank you, Jan. And I think,
Thank you, guys.
yeah, it was really, really interesting to hear all the different point of views. And maybe starting with the conversation, I can start, Laurent, you can pitch in, then we continue the conversation.
Sure.
And like what Anupam said, that being authentic and telling stories, and what Karo said and Jan also said, having these kind of skills and different adjectives associated with leadership, what exactly, like, how do you know that you are a good leader? This is a question which is going on a lot in the ecosystem, that you are a good leader versus this is a good leader or a manager. How do you find out that you are on the right track? Are there any external or internal triggers to find out that you are a good leader or becoming a good leader?
And on top of that, and by the way, I would like to be Iron Man because he's got a lot of money and a lot of technology. He looks cool.
But I
But on
hope you
top,
guys understand, by the way, that
Choice.
I did not
Good
say
choice.
you need to become superheroes. I said that
yes,
the concept of leadership today, if you want to follow all the precepts, mean that you need to become a superhuman, and that's not realistic. So I think Anupam and Jan very much opened up then on what it should be to be a good leader, because if you're reading it from the textbook, it's unattainable. You can never get there. So by all means, let's be superheroes in our dreams, but not in our leadership style.
Yeah.
but on Priyanka point and question about what is, how do you know if you're a good leader? Would you guys consider yourselves being good leaders?
Anyone who want to take this?
Yeah, I am no authority on leadership. I don't believe I'm learning every day. However, the question that Priyanka mentioned in terms of how do you see if someone is a good leader or not, I think that was one moot point, not whether we are good leaders or not, but we can share our thought process. And like I said, stories are always interesting. So maybe another story. One colleague, couple of years back, was doing an interview for a senior position, and in the interview, the candidate was really a great candidate, much better than the interviewer himself. And the interviewer, for obvious reasons, rejected the guy because he was intimidated. Okay, is my job at threat? Yeah, and this is a mistake that many of us make all the time. That somehow I think one of the hallmarks, and if you read books on leadership, I think from 6th century BC to, Confucius was the first guy who said this, and then Ford and Steve Jobs and everyone has said that leadership is, you need to be surrounded by people who are smarter than you all the time. And I think that's one of the, tick boxes that I often look at when I'm defining whether someone is a good leader or not. Whether he has actually created a team of people who are actually better than him in different aspects. And I think for you to be able to do that, that's the first, hallmark of, in my view, of a good leader. Because you cannot do like the topics that Caroline mentioned, you can't do all those things on your own. You can't be an expert in everything in real life. But in order to make your organization really that strong and deliverable, you need to make sure that you get the right resources, and most often than not, you have to get yourself into the organization people who might be much more smarter than you are. And it's important for persons to then come up with their behavioral change, because the first instinct says, okay, when I get someone who's better than me, is my job at stake in the future? And the minute you can bridge that gap, I think you have crossed that boundary of from a manager to a leader. But yeah, happy to hear Caroline and Jan's views on that.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you bring this topic up, because this is also something that I wanted to share for this presentation. So on a very similar topic around the people, because leaders are nothing without people, that's clear. And being a bit more serious than my earlier intro, I think another thing which is important is not only to attract the talents and accept that talents can be smarter than you and such, but it's also to grow the talents. And I know that in my team, for instance, it's happened really over the last 10 years that usually people stay 2.5 years and then they move on to do bigger and brighter things, and I encourage them. So I'm seeing myself as kind of like it is the incubation. They come to my team, we grow together, and then they move on to the next thing. And very often I've been getting the question from other managers that, "Oh, aren't you like bummed that you're losing your best resource?" And I'm like, no, I'm actually super excited that I'm losing my best resource, because whatever I manage to co-create with her or coach her or him is going to take it to the next team. And then my sort of like vision to, you know, take over the world is going to spread around, and it makes it also looks good for you as a leader when other teams are like, hey, look what she's doing with her resources, and we want people like that in the team and such. So I think that's the point number one. And the second point is that because I tend to rotate a lot, then people know that there is spots open in my team like every now and then. I also get a lot of people that are saying, hey, I'm looking up to you, and when you have a spot open, I want to come to your team. And I think that really is the best testament when people are like, I want to work with you, you know. So people definitely at the center of this topic for sure.
Yeah, sounds same that people around you makes you a good leader. What about you, Jan? Do you have anything to add on to that?
Yeah, sure. When on a very practical, like how do you know if I'm a good leader? Basically, I look at, okay, sometimes the team might express directly or indirectly. I could hear it from another route or some other team member here. So I've been, and I'm maybe very practical, like a fairly recent, and we were very hectic moment before we did our first Stockholm event in February, and like few days away, and the team was like, oh, very close, and decided I'm gonna make a little surprise for them. I make them walk through the city. I didn't tell where we're going, and then we went to this indoor mini golf thing in the middle of the winter, basically neon lights and everything, and forgot everything about the event pressure. And then like after we've been there for a couple of hours and come back, and then somebody said, "Wow, this was like the best ever." How do you call it? Like a office and activity like this, and they were super happy, and I could see that how the team was like enjoying. So I said, okay, I think I did something good here for them. So that's like on a practical level, obviously there that if you're getting, and then obviously seeing that when I'm getting no rejections or objections on when I'm conveying the vision to the people, what's that we're going to be doing this week or for the next coming month, and why are we doing so, what's our goals. And then I feel that if there's less objections coming, then I'm like telling the story correctly, and they're like buying it, right? And they're with me on that. So I see that. I don't know, Lauren, how do you see that part?
Well, I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot of key takeaways so far. Everything that you guys have said, I totally agree with you. The alignment with the vision, the purpose, definitely key. The people, definitely key. But today is not about me; it's about you. And I'm a business coach, right? So, and I like to ask personal questions. So let me ask you this question: what is the biggest leadership challenge that you have faced, and how did you react? Who wants to start?
So I can go first if you don't mind.
Okay.
So because my main business is event organizing, and maybe some of you have heard about this coronavirus happening in the world. And then when the, let's say February, we did our Stockholm event and preparing for event in May, and like, okay, it's not look so bad. And then boom, one Thursday, I went to like a meeting with the client, like trying to close the deal. I come out of the meeting, and then I hear from the news that, okay, government has blocked organizing events. And that was like, and then I was, oh crap, this is not good for my business, for my financial projections, because I'm going to lose my revenues basically overnight, and I need to figure out what we're going to do in the future. Nobody knows the future. And then how am I feeling? Of course, I little bit ingested that, but technically the next day I had to terminate one employee, which which started that same week, Monday, basically. So after having only a few days and getting a good start, and then have to terminate the contract, because I know that job didn't exist anymore there, because I couldn't keep her on the payroll, because I don't know when the job can be done. So that was kind of like, for me at least, like overnight crisis hitting, and have to let go somebody who just literally joined the team 4 days before. So that was like a pretty, let's say, inconvenient, but it was that I had to do it. I knew it inside that, hey, there's no other way around. So, and of course I explained it very clearly, and she was like asking, well, why did you hire me then if you're going to be 10 minutes? Okay, 1 week ago, it was a different situation. It was looking better, but then she eventually she understood, and then thank Buddha, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, she got a new job already. So unfortunately, I couldn't hire her now back, but that was at least like a, for my,
Yes.
it was a tough, but I just had to do it. And I know inside that there's no other way, and I had to communicate
Yes,
that.
I can totally relate to that. I mean, I remember the first time I had to let go people. I couldn't sleep for two nights before. It was so difficult, and it ties into what Anupam you say earlier when you said that leaders, we have to be authentic. We have to be human. We cry when we
Yeah.
before we need to let go people. That's being authentic and human. What about you? What about you? Well, Anupam, what about your biggest leadership challenge?
So I won't say biggest leadership challenge, but I think the most exciting challenge that I have faced in my career so far has been actually leading a very diverse team. So I have in my management team people, different genders, different nationalities. So starting from Far East in Asia, from South Korea to very black and white Finns. So it's a very nice mix of people, but that brings with it its own challenges, because in the management team, then you have very diverse opinions, you have very diverse thinking processes. Like Caroline mentioned, when you say one sentence, someone perceives it some way and someone else sees it some way. There's a big difference in the cultures of different parts of the world. So in Asia, for example, it's very difficult for people to in management teams even to come out with very strongly with different opinions, whereas that's something that very easily comes across in Europe. But when you have a management team which is mixed with people from both sides, it can create a lot of confusion for until and unless you're able to sort that out. And I think this was one of the most interesting challenges that I had, where gender was diverse, the young guys to people who were far more experienced to me, and then, like I said, Indians, South Koreans, Chinese, Finns. It was a good mix. And I think what did help me was the fact that I come from India, where there are so many different languages and cultures. And for me, it was not a very, I would say, new environment, because in India, you can very often work with colleagues who speak completely different languages and have different fooding habits and so on. And for me, for example, when I go from Mumbai to Chennai, it's as foreign as going to China or coming to Finland. So I really don't see that difference. So I think that experience did help me out, and that's something that I keep on telling my colleagues as well, that especially when we are working in multinational corporations and so on, it's very important for us to be very grounded with the understanding of how different cultures work, how different people perceive things differently. Because for you to be able to do justice as a leader, you need to really understand that in big detail. And I would say that was one of the most interesting topics. I'm still every day when we get some new member, this challenge always comes up, but I think it's an interesting learning process.
Get to know your people. Yes. Before I turn to Caroline, let me remind to everyone that don't hesitate to ask questions anytime using the group chat. And now let's hear from Caroline. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, if we're really talking about the biggest challenge, and if I'm being honest, I think I need to speak openly about being a foreign female, relatively young still, leader. It's a challenge. It's not the one-day challenge. It's a career challenge that will stay there until the end. I've been very fortunate to work with companies for companies where I have managed to overcome these challenges, but I feel that you need to be maybe a bit on a different level than the rest. So I can't give necessarily like a concrete example, because it's more of a 15-year journey at this point than a one precise event or one precise year. But certainly, like, you really have to search within yourself that also what's going to work and what's not going to work. And it relates a bit to the multiculturalism topic in that sense, but not only. I'm also in a very male-driven industry, which adds its share of challenges. So in that sense, how do you go in an industry where it's male-driven, finish-driven, engineering-driven, middle-age driven, and you come in and you're basically the antichrist, because you're the opposite of everything that you're expected to be in every single category of diversity. So that's been my biggest challenge, but very well supported by strong allies who have helped along the way. But for sure, to impose yourself as a leader and be recognized as a leader in this environment is really a lifelong challenge. And it's not Kone specific, by the way, it's any other company. I've been very fortunate at Kone, actually.
How then do you overcome this challenge, Caroline? Because I think this question has been coming up a lot of times, that we don't have enough representation at the leadership positions, and that's why we also want to show different leaders. So how do we change that? How do we bring that change so that these challenges are not forever?
Right. I think in my case, it was very early on to recognize when to have the expert hat, when to have the manager hat, and when to have the leader hat. Many people still tend to confuse actually leadership and management, which are totally different things, or being a manager, which for me are totally different things, but really constantly being aware of the environment, who you are, who you're talking to, what topic you're addressing, and being able to switch the hat from one meeting to another. And in one case, being here to provide your expertise and your support and really showcasing that you know what you're talking about. But then the next meeting, being able to say like, hey guys, this has been going on for 10 years. Let's find a solution. I'm going to take the lead and I'm going to fix this, which eventually I did many times. So I think it's really about finding this balance, this multi-personality. That's what I said earlier. Like, nobody has a job title that says leader. Right? We're all managers or CEOs or directors or analysts or this and that. So how do you like bring in the leadership within you and balance this out? I think is quite critical, and it's very draining. So I can imagine that some people at some point are like, okay, forget it. But I was very kind of like leadership driven. So I was like, I need to be an example. It doesn't matter if I was a business assistant at the time, or if I'm now a director. I wanted to inspire, I wanted to drive change. And I think that was my way, at least, to overcome. Just take the lead and know when to be what, in that sense.
I think I agree with you in the topic that leadership doesn't have to be only the CEOs or the executives or people. It can come from every one of us, and it can come from all these initiatives that we can take. So yeah, really, really interesting.
I would add on top of that, I would say that leadership for me is first an attitude before being a skill. It starts here in the brain, and everybody can be a leader. Yes,
exactly.
Yeah, but then so you have, of course, there are a lot of challenges in being coming up with leadership, but also there are very good things that come up with leadership, and there are many great scenarios or great leadership which we might see at our work, or maybe we have done it ourselves. So is there something that you would like to share with us, some great leadership example that you have witnessed or you have displayed yourself? Anyone? Maybe Anupam, you can start.
Maybe another story.
Yeah.
Again, a very interesting example from one of my previous line managers when I was pretty young into my career. Something that I've been so amazed with. He was one of those leaders. He's done very well for himself in life, obviously. He was one guy who would never create a vision and share with anyone. So even when we were doing the target setting or goal setting, he had this unique way of sitting with people uh, and getting into the discussion boards, and really making the people come out with the targets and numbers and goals for themselves, which sometimes were quite crazy. Yeah, many times I don't know why I committed to those numbers and why I came up with those numbers. But then he would make people come up with numbers and keep on driving that till the time whatever he had in his mind was surpassed. So in a sense that he was really not thrusting his vision on his team, but he was making sure that the team together is creating a vision, and somehow his vision and the team's vision then match up. And what would then happen is that when you have been a part of creating that vision, you immediately buy on into that vision. Sometimes many leaders make this error of judgment of sharing their vision and their their thoughts and goals and so on onto the team members, and it looks like very top driven kind of a approach in an organization. But I think that's another leadership where I have seen, like I mentioned this example, that this guy really forced us to create and become a part of that vision creation right from. And that time, I was a frontline salesperson very early in my career, but he made us part of his vision, and then it became much easier for everyone to accept that. And I think that's what you'll find most of the good leaders also do, that they don't create vision, but they make sure that there's a bigger team together coming together to create. In Lindstrom, for example, when we make our vision or strategies now, it's almost the entire organization that is involved in creating the right from our frontline blue collar people in the different units up to the management. Everyone is involved in creating a common vision. Then the buy-in is much easier from the team.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight because I never thought of that. But are you also practicing it yourself, using this
Yeah,
this
I think
kind of
that's
idea?
the idea, that when for example you learn something good from people, how can you put to use?
Yeah.
Otherwise, the learning process itself is not there. I can't judge for myself whether I have been successful at it, but that's something I definitely practice.
Mm.
That of course I do have my viewpoints that I would discuss and so on, but
Yeah.
I try and take that approach that the team is involved in creating a common path or a common roadmap.
Wow, we are getting so many good ideas here, people. Just, I'm gonna write a blog after that. But what about you, Jan?
Yeah.
Do you have like a great scenario that you came across, or you have?
Well, I have one from like fairly close to me. I wouldn't say it in my company, but maybe some of you know a guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, a social media person, writer, author,
Oh
marketing guy,
yes.
millions. And he's my business partner in Arctic Startup, but to his company Vayner Media, it's like close to 1,000 people working for him in multiple offices. And then he has this. I remember it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago when we were discussing something, and he said, talking that, hey, I want to have 15 minutes one-on-one with everybody in the company. So, and then he tells his staff to set it up. Obviously, it's going to be like a 6 months or 1 year project because he's a busy guy. I've seen his schedule like from 6 a.m. until sometimes 10 p.m. It's like 15-minute pam every minute. So he wants to squeeze in all the, even with the interns who come to work. Of course, some of them he takes in groups. So like having this ambitious and showing it kind of like publicly, and he says, my door is open, you can message me any moment, even in 1,000 people company, direct channel to the CEO open 24/7, 365. I think that's like a amazing dedication, and that's why he'll probably get young people, American people, work for him for lower rates than they would get in other agencies if they would join. But so in this kind of like it's pretty crazy to have 1,000 people one-on-ones.
And thank you so much for Arctic 15 that I got to meet him. It was wonderful experience to actually meet him and see him in person.
Yeah, hopefully we can invite him back to Finland when the traveling is possible again.
Yes, definitely. How about you, Caroline? What? Tell us, give us some nice stories. I'm
Yeah,
loving this.
Yeah, so if circling around this Corona topic, actually, I think that one thing that I was very amazed with has been, for instance, our company's leadership response to, and including leadership team, but also at every single level with the Corona crisis. And I've always been a firm believer that you see true leadership in times of crisis. You don't see true leadership when everything is going well. That's my personal view. It's I'm not saying that's the universal truth, but every now and then, you know, of course, every employee is kind of like, with the company, you can, come on, guys, are you sure? If you look at the leaders and you're like, are you sure this is the right direction? Are you sure this is this and that? Which they know already, so I can say publicly that sometimes, are you guys sure? But then when you're faced with a crisis of this magnitude in the timeline that it came, and you've got 67,000 employees that possibly can be on a you know, out of work the next day, to be able to bounce back, communicate in the way that they communicated, and come out of it stronger on the other hand, for me is like, I was really like, wow, like this is so inspiring. So I think really being able to focus, lead, give the right message, and come out stronger on the other side is what great leaders should be doing.
And
Right.
how did you do that? Can you give like a little bit of
Yeah,
flavor?
I need to talk about our CEO on this one, because really I think he did an amazing job. I think it was right away, everything was very controlled, very well communicated, at least from what I could see. I'm not in every single frontline, obviously, but from what we could see, it was very well communicated. And right away, there was kind of like audience to the entire company, and it was very positive message. We're going to beat this. We're going to come out of this stronger. Together we can do it. We are not scared. We are not worried. Everything is going to go fine. Let's just focus, get it done. And I was really, I think everybody was looking at it like, you know, every politician and other leader in the world running around like headless rabbit, that, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then you've got this one guy who's standing tall and being like, we're going to beat this, and on top of it, we are going to come out stronger. And you're like, okay, I'm there. I'm following you. I'm part of the journey, you know. So I think that definitely the communication style was really outstanding. Yeah. Many other things, of course, from the other
Yeah.
team, but the CEO, already the head of the company, taking the lead and making that message out there for everyone is kind of like, okay, we will follow.
Jan touched base on communication, if I remember well in your earlier presentation. This is something also that you said. Communication is very important. We got some questions from the audience, and there is Jochen, for example, and I think it ties back into what Anupam you were talking about earlier on. Is asking, what should a good leader expect from his or her team members, and how can these expectations be managed, especially in a multicultural environment?
Yeah, interesting, and thanks for the question. Like we've been discussing so far, I think that there's a big difference between a manager and a leader. A manager is someone who's typically leading a day-to-day task and so on. A leader is someone who's creating a vision for the organization, common vision on what you're running for, or not necessarily only for the organization, but a vision about anything or even a small element. And I think it's very important for the team members and for the leader to have then a very clear understanding and work together towards achieving that shared vision. It's very important for the leader to somehow be able to then look at how he can help the team in achieving those goals, make the necessary resources available for achieving those vision and so on, facilitate the whole process and be a part of it, lead from the front, like Jan was saying, be together with the team in creating and achieving whatever we have set out to achieve. With regards to the multicultural part, I think the ownership lies on both sides. So it's sometimes, like Caroline started the session so beautifully about the superhuman requirement. In reality, we are not superhuman. And I think sometimes it requires people from both sides of the team as well as the leader to be open with each other and communicate more effectively, and share vulnerabilities, share the challenges that you're facing. So you can expect as much from your leader, and the leader can also similarly expect as much from you. And I think it's the onus is on both sides to make this really work together, if you're really dedicated to the vision that you have set for yourself. So I think it's also important, not just for the leader but the whole team, to then buy into that vision and then work jointly together. So it's not his vision, or it's not someone else's vision that it's a common vision that we are working together for. And only when we have that sort of an understanding does it become easier to work, does it become sometimes easier also then to accept uh, the challenges that might come in the way. So not everything is always possible. You will face setbacks. No one prepared for this COVID situation, for example. There will be jobs which will go out, like Jan said, and that's not the first time or the last time that we are facing this. So these are business realities or harsh realities. But then I think all these happen when there is a very clear trust and transparency between the leader and the team working together, and it makes it much more easier.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered something that
Yeah.
you're looking for. Happy if my colleagues can then add on.
Yeah. I think I would add to that, to a next question. I think it goes very well, like what you said, that these kind of problems and issues are not coming, like not new. They will keep coming, and then you will have to make decisions. Well, her particular question is like, have you ever made a huge bad decision, and how did you get over it from an emotional perspective? And that's what I want to also understand, because I am new into entrepreneurship, and I have already faced that I have to take decisions which I don't necessarily like, and then I am always thinking about it and I feel bad about it. So how do you handle that emotional distress about making a bad decision or making a hard decision? Maybe Jan, you can tell, you recently made a hard decision.
I was about to say.
So making a hard decision and a bad decision is, of course, two completely different things. So
yeah.
I couldn't say you like a bigger bad decision, like a major, oh shit, we lost big client, or damn it, something. I like I say, 1 year as CEO position so far, I'd say, and 6 months on a corona, not being able to operate properly, part of that year also. So overall, it's been tough to making decision for me. Like, what can we do? Where can we move on? Can we do physical event? Can we do hybrid event? Okay, yes. Then in the end, no, we cannot. Okay, let's do online event. So it's been ongoing. I don't know yet if it was a good decision or bad decision to push for the online event. We'll find out in a few weeks.
But how do you manage the emotional part of it? Like,
I don't know. I think I can accept internally and then move on, not get stuck on things. I think the life is not for regrets. It's for let's get over things and look forward, rather than get stuck on some little or bigger things. And I'm not kind of like that kind of a guy who gets too analytical on things. I try to accept with if there's a counterpart, or like try to find some kind of a piece or truth, and then let's move on. It's the machine keeps going. You need to keep the ball rolling. Don't get stuck. Let's aim forward. And that's probably part of the, how do you, can you then convert into, hey, here's the vision, our together vision, let's look that direction and move forward, basically. That would be my way of getting over. I'm not gonna get stuck for too long.
Very well said, Jan. Maybe just to add on to that, I think what's also important is that, like I said, when you're making bad decisions, there's no hiding behind it. We make bad decisions every day, at home, at work, and so on. And we will continue to make bad decisions many times. And there's no hiding from that. But I think also what is important is to acknowledge that bad decision and also share that bad decision with others. So that, like I said, people see that human side of you. And at the same time, even for the team members, then it becomes much easier to then fail and come back and fail again and come back. Because like I said, when we are in business, not every decision is perfect. Not every call that we take is the right one. There are bad calls that we take many times, but then we need to, close that chapter fast, like Jan said, move on to the next one. But it's important to share your, part of the bad decision, so that, like I said, it becomes easier for the team to also then come up with sharing their part of it.
And it's important also, I believe, to understand that making bad decisions is part of the job anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
At least I was
Yeah.
not hired to, make 100 out of 100 right decisions all the time. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. That sounds really good. And I think there is another question. Maybe Caroline, you can answer that for us. First of all, what is servant leadership? And then from practical perspective, how do you feel about this concept?
Well, I feel great about it to start with, because one of my idols actually called me a servant leader once. So that felt very special, to be honest.
Ah.
It came out of nowhere. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah, so servant leader, I mean, there's a little bit different thought on the actual, like, definition of it. Normally, it should be really at the service of the others and independently of the context of a company or this kind of like, profit-oriented thing. I slightly tend to disagree with that view. I think servant leader is by definition really the opposite of the self-centered leader. So I do believe you can also be servant leader in your organization. And I see that very often. I'm in a meeting and people are going to be like, oh yeah, but maybe you don't want to do this because that doesn't serve best interest of your team, but it does for ours. And I'm like, I don't care. What I care is that does it serve the best interest of the company? And if it serves the best interest of the company, then I'm all in, even though it means that maybe it's not the best news for my team. So that's my view on servant leadership. It's really about others. And oftentimes, I think there is a notion that when you're a servant leader, you're not going to draw people to you, but people will come to you naturally and look to you as a leader, regardless what position you're in. That's my view on servant leadership.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never heard of servant
These are, of
leadership
course,
before.
very interesting adjectives that keep on coming up, and I'm sure there would be many more. But not to get behind too much the context of what that really means. But I think leadership in general is quite vast, and there are many different forms. And someone puts some tagline to that, so somehow we shouldn't
Exactly.
get too fixated by those topics.
True.
Yes, Laura.
We have a question from Samuel. He's asking, in what moments you feel like a leader apart from your role?
Can I answer that? The boys have been going first on all the other questions. So I can
Yeah, go on, Caroline.
I'm sorry to say, but all the time. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not like there is a switch, it's not like when I park to the office and hi, Samuel, by the way, I think you're our Samuel from Kone. So it's not like, I drive to the office and I get out of the car and the switch is on and I'm a leader. So I'm kind of like joking a little bit again with the topic, but genuinely, like, I remember as a kid, I've got people who knew me as a kid and they were like, you were always the one who was trying to like drag the others and lead the way and choose what toys we're going to play and try to like, gravitate people around you and stuff. And I'm not saying like I'm on hyper leader mode like every minute of the day, but it's I think Anupam was saying it as well, or was it you, Laurent, that you kind of have it inside or you don't. Like in that sense, you kind of feel like you're like that or not. And of course, in the partnership at home, it's a balance, and you can't just be like the leader or leader in a wrong way. But you can take the lead of your life and say, I'm going to move to Finland. I'm going to study this. I'm going to make a career. I'm going to buy a house. Like all of those, in that sense, is you taking the own lead of your own life. So for me, it's all the time. No switch.
So does it mean that being a leader also means that you have to make decisions, like real important decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that I'm all about empowerment. So whenever, now coming back to the work context, if I can empower my team to make the decisions for themselves, then all the best. But there is going to be a moment where you are also kind of a leader for a reason, right? And you're going to have to just sometimes make the bad or hard decisions, or the good ones as well. So in that sense, yeah, I believe that leaders have to make the calls every now and then. Yeah.
And I can assure you, Caroline, that you're not just empowering your employees, but all the other international women in Finland, and you're the role model here. So thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that. Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can, I think there are no more questions, but we have one last question for you. Well, we still have time. We can take more questions, but what is one practical recommendation you would give to our audience to become better leaders? And a lot of us here are new leaders and maybe starting or having some experience in leadership. So how can we become better leaders? Anyone who would like to start?
Maybe I'll let the boys start this time.
Maybe again sharing my thoughts, and you could have differences of opinion there. But I think what's very important is to have a good circle where you can actually discuss topics beyond work. So you need to have a multicultural, multi-ethnic uh, circle where you are able to exchange ideas, able to exchange thought processes. Because I think what's very important for a leader is to keep the brain fresh and new ideas flowing and so on. Sometimes, we get very committed to having very similar kind of people in our social circles as well. People who think just like us, or people who act just like us, or have the same food habits and so on. It's good in one way, you are in your comfort zone, but sometimes it doesn't exercise your brain as much when you are actually in a multicultural environment where you're having to deal with different kinds of fooding habits. So you're making a choice. So should we have sushi today, which I don't like because I'm with that guy? And I think it somehow keeps your mental agility going and so on. And at the same time, it helps you get different viewpoints and ideas. So I think one practical example, if you keep, want to develop the leadership skills, I think it's something that all of you are doing. And at least I'm aware that all of you are doing it so well, much better than I am. But that's something that I think the kids also right from college and the universities need to start practicing. That very often you would find it's very easy to slip into the same background uh, circles and make life easier, not wanting to step out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
The other one would be maybe selecting good set of mentors. So guys in XCS have you guys as very good mentors, and I think it's very important that you have good mentors with whom you can discuss beyond work. You can discuss your worst inhibitions, exchange ideas, someone who can tell you all the shit that you want, that normally your line manager will not tell you, or your colleagues will not tell you. So I think you need to have that confidant that you can openly discuss with. I think these two practical things help a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I also had that point in mind. The mentoring and or coaching is so important. I moved to Finland when I was 20, so my entire working life has been in Finland, and I really struggled in the first few years with the so-called Finnish leadership style. And as soon as I saw my first kind of Finnish leader, who is the amazing and absolutely fabulous Katrina Valli, and I was like, I want to be like her. I want to be like her when I grow up. Like, I kind of felt like this is what a leader should be like. And she did become my manager, of course, but as soon as we were done with the sort of like working relationship, both of us moving on to other things, I've been clinging on her for the last 12 years. And every time still that I have an important career decision to make, or have something like really bothering me or concerning me, I turn to her. And I was very fortunate to find a couple of other great Finnish leaders. And adding to Anupam, maybe I think Priyanka and Laurent can be fabulous mentors, but having them both in that sense, like not so many years perhaps in Finland, I think it's also very important for the entrepreneurs in this call to find Finnish mentors as well, because you really need to find these role models and understand a bit more. So what's the leadership style in Finland? What's the cultural impact and such on top of what should be a good leader, which I think Priyanka and Laurent, sorry, can demonstrate already.
Yeah, I think also like having mentors, we can have different mentors that can help us in different aspects of life, also not just professionally, but also personally. And I'm always seeking for role models and mentors as well. So I totally agree that to finding exactly you feel driven to, okay, this is what I would like to do.
And maybe
Yeah.
the second, sorry, just the second one from my side as well. Yeah, I would say stay away from the toxic literature, or try to identify the toxic literature. So that was really my message with the Batman story. And I can tell you a little bit that yesterday it was 6:30 and I was like, damn, I have this panel tomorrow. I'm supposed to write something. What am I going to write? And as a lazy person, sometimes I just type leadership done right in Google, as it's the title of the thing, right? And I came up on the first thing that came up was this Leadership Done Right book website by some guy, I forgot the name. And I clicked that, and right away there was this leadership attribute. I clicked that 25 or 30 attributes. And I was like, that cannot be. Guy is saying basically that leadership done right is being Batman. And there came then the whole Batman story. So try to identify also like what are the right sources. Is it the podcast, or is it this kind of webinar, or is it literature? Whatever it is, stay away from the sort of like toxic one that gives the impression that it's like, you know, leadership is about being 50 different things. It's not. And I think Anupam and Jan said very well what it actually is about. So
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, totally agree. No superhumans here. Yeah. What about you, Jan?
Well, going maybe back to in the beginning, what I mentioned already is I would say that the very practical things would be like, hey, show your commitment, be present and care. It's about people, caring about people. If you can show that you're listening and you care about the people, about their dreams, their goals, and you're supporting there, I think that's very practical, and you will become a better leader for sure. But it's about.
Also, I would like to ask from you, because you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs, and a lot of our audience are also aspiring entrepreneurs or new leaders. For them, what would you recommend, that what would be from the start of their journey they can be better leaders and take their startup forward?
Well, responsibility, it can be kind of like how I see that it can be given to you, or you can kind of like create and softly take it yourself. So there's some kind of between line. So show that, also coming back, show your commitment, maybe do a little bit extra, surprise people by caring and delivering something they didn't expect perhaps, and showing that, hey, you are committed to whatever cause, organization, whatever it is. If you show commitment, then people will build the trust, and they will, when they trust you, then they can kind of like follow you on. And then, so the trust building is obviously part of that. Don't lie.
Yeah, to be a leader, you need to have followers. I think, who said that? Simon Sinek.
Yeah, if you're leading alone, you're just a lone wolf there. And
yes.
So,
yeah. Yeah, that I think is wonderful. Lauren, do you want to add something?
No, I think we're getting close to the end. I don't see any more questions. I mean, this was absolutely cracking. I have so much takeouts. And then on what I've noted, we talk about being a leader is a journey. We talk about leaders have weaknesses, and that's absolutely fine. Be genuine, be authentic. We talk a lot about people, like Jan said. I think you said, Jan, you have to be available for your team. So I mean, that
Yeah,
was great.
that
I
was
loved
really
it.
great. And let's just have this open stage. If any one of you would like to say some ending words before we wrap up this session, please go ahead. And we will be really honored. Any one of you want to say something or anything?
Oh, I think thanks for organizing this. I think it's always nice to share ideas and discussions, experiences. It's always a learning journey. So let's not get bogged down too much by what the definitions of leadership are, and so on. There is always a, different versions of everything in life and different interpretations. But I think what's important is the journey itself, and then
Yeah.
let's enjoy that journey while we can. So thanks, Priyanka and Lauren, for organizing this, and Caroline and Jan. Good to have this chat with you guys.
Thank you so much, and I totally I'm super grateful that you all joined and shared your views to us, because as you said, it's all about learning, and we will be most likely coming up with more and more these kind of panels with different topics. Also, as you mentioned, Anupam, earlier about millennials, so that's also one of our topic that we want to come up with, millennials, and Caroline as a women and foreigner leaders, and so many different kind of things, like specific and focused. But Jan, you wanted to say something?
Yes, well, obviously, I'm gonna put out a little promotional message here in the end, not in the beginning.
Go ahead.
So in a few weeks, October 1921, it's gonna be the #1 startup event in Finland. I have a proud to tell it this year, plus it's not happening. So Arctic 15 can be the #1, and decide we are most affected anyways, but now we'll be the main thing. So if you're looking for partners, if you're looking for funding, sign up for the online event. Maybe I can send some kind of a discount code for XAS for the participant here. If you can share it to get a little bit, it's already low price. Of course, it's not for free, but it's kind of like we're expecting to be able to provide value beyond all the ticket price there. And then especially if you're looking for funding, we'll have, or if you happen to be an angel investor, we're actually launched last week the pitching competition, and normally there's like one syndicate for the winner, but now we kind of like changing the way, and we're opening multiple syndicates, so you can kind of like win without being the winner, not being number 2, number 7, even 15. You could score investment opportunity with the angel syndicate, and we have already 8 lead angels. We have like 8 syndicates. Obviously, most likely all of them will not be finalized, but it's a great opportunity for the early stage companies to apply until end of this month, and then coming to finals. So little promotion about that.
I think that's really great, and thank you for the discount because I think this will be really good for a lot of us joining here.
You committed yourself now, Jan. Discount.
we have it on the chat now, so
yes, it's recorded.
yes. Okay, but
Caroline,
I think
you want to add? Sorry, Priyanka.
Of course, want to say thank you to Pri and to Laurent, of course, and Sergey for organizing and for inviting me, especially Priyanka, and then Jan and Anupam for being great co-panelists and having lovely ideas and discussions. I see still one question from Vijay in the chat, so feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. Happy to maybe give some ideas on that topic. And then more generally speaking, happy to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. So just send me an invitation and we can discuss. And Jan, a wonderful luck with your event. I'm sure it's going to be a great success.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Caroline, Anupam, Jan. Thank you, every participants. I believe this was it was recorded, and I believe this will be published very soon. But I will let Sergey address the issue. Priyanka, do you want to say anything for the end?
No, thank you so much. And over to you, Sergey. Let's wrap up this session nicely by telling us where to find XS, where to find this recording so that we can dwell on it later.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Caroline, Anupam, Jan. It was like an amazing discussion. And I also have, from me, the same feeling that leadership is all about the people. It's about like taking care of the people, and about storytelling, and all these facts was like really useful tips for me. And of course, special thanks to our moderators, Priyanka and Laurent. So I really like the style of the discussion and the style of event. And also I would like to engage everybody to join XS Helsinki. You can find us in any social media, just be to the search like XS, and you will find it. And also, I think we will send the email with the records to all the guests. And there you can also find the links to our sources. And also we are always open to any partnership and communications.
All right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice
Thanks,
evening.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Bye.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.